What's up, vapors? Thanks for checking out Spinfuel's Daily Vape TV. My name is Nick, and today is Fresh Build Friday. As always, we're going to be building a brand new coil for you guys, and today is going to be a bit of a half review, half build video. I'm going to be using some Anarchist wire and Anarchist cotton, and which was given to me by local vape distribution. A few of their people were on their way to ECC Niagara and stopped in my shop in Springfield, Mass, Voltage Vape, and just to check out the shop and, you know, kind of talk to us a bit about what they're up to. And they gave me this stuff to review, so that's what I'm going to be using today. Nothing too crazy for the build. It's just going to be a standard kind of cloud chasing kind of build for those of you that like a warmer vape and lots of vapor. This is definitely going to be for you, and I will be going over once again my wicking technique, so pay attention to that part of the video. I do want to give a huge shout out to Big Philly and Melissa from local vape distribution for stopping by the shop and just chatting with us and kind of just, you know, telling us what they're up to and what they're all about. So really like this stuff. Some interesting things about it is they came in all the way up to 18 gauge, which is the biggest gauge that I've ever used, and the ramp up time is a lot faster than normal Canthal wire, and the resistance is a little bit lower as well. Comparing it to similar things that I've tried, such as Royal by Drix and you know, some like hot wires and stuff like that. It's more like hot wires in the sense of the ramp up time is a lot faster. It is a bit finicky to build with, and sometimes you'll get one coil heating up a little bit hotter than the other coil if you're building a dual coil setup. But those problems can always be worked out with just simply messing with your coils, which I'll go over in the video in the close-up section. But I really like this stuff. It's nickel chromium wire, which is a decent flavor wire as well. So you not only get an excellent flavor, but also tons of vapor. So without further ado, let's go right down into the close-up section of this video and start building. Alright, so here we are in the close-ups. Here we have our Anarchist wire. It's competition wire, 15 feet. Local vape shop and Anarchist manufacturing. Manufactured by Homeboy OC on Instagram. Make sure you go follow him. He's awesome. He's got some really cool builds. This whole front piece is a sticker too, which I really like. As you guys know, I love stickers. So today I'm going to be using 22 gauge wire, and it's AN80 or nichrome. So yeah, it's pretty decent stuff. I've been building with it for a while now, and it's got some really interesting properties to it. So I'm just gonna put that aside and cut my sections of wire out. I'm just doing a simple build today. Just want to, you know, show off the properties of the wire itself. So I'm just gonna clip off about 5 or 6 inches there, and we're gonna find the beginning of the wire and clip off another 6 inches or so. Okay, so toss that aside. Just take our handy dandy little coil jig tool, and if you don't have a coil jig, just use whatever you got, screwdriver, whatever you wrap around. But I think this thing is awesome. I use it all the time at the shop to build customers' mods. So doing a 5-wrap, 22 gauge. And I'm also going to center it, so I just take my pliers, do a 90-degree bend, and leave a little room and bend it back. So that's one coil built. It's really easy, and I know I made it look super simple, but you guys can do it too. I believe in you. So there's one coil. And I'm just going to build up another one, and I'm actually going to do this again on camera because you might have missed it the first time. And yeah, I have a little bit of black on my thumb from polishing up my Fupalo, so don't worry about that. So again, if you have one of these jigs, you can build along with me. Just put it in through, do a quick half wrap around, and then 5 wraps. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then what you can do, take your pliers, grip it right next to the coil, bend it 90 degrees, then bend it back like that. And what that's going to do is just help center your coil, push it more towards the middle, so it's easier to get an even amount of wicking on both sides. So there you go, there's the final product, 2 coils. Just a quick, simple build. Anyone can do this. Alright, so as I bring my mod in the shot, seeing as how my ohm reader is stripped out, I'm waiting on a replacement right now. I'm just going to do this without one. One thing you do want to do though is make sure you take your battery out of your mod before you start building on it. Last thing you need is accidents. And this is the Mutation X V2, so it has these annoying little triangle screws, but you know, I love the everything else about this device. I really like it, so just go ahead and tighten down your screws. Make sure that coil is just a little bit of ways out from your posts, otherwise you're going to run into problems. And I do apologize if you hear anything in the background. There's not only construction going on right outside my window, but also the air show is in town, so there's planes flying above me, so lots of noise going around. I kind of picked the worst day to record this video, but we're just going to push on. Okay. So this coil seems pretty tight. Alright, so that's one coil, and always after the first coil I just clip my leads. And one thing I do to help it from flying away on me is I just put my thumb against it here and clip it as close to the deck as possible, or close to the post, and that way the wire doesn't fly all over my room. Alright, so that's one coil down. We're going to install our second coil, and then I'll show you how to heat them up and mess with the coils a little bit. Alright, so as you can see, I've installed my second coil. All I did before hitting the record button was just pull those coils slightly away from the decks, just to ensure that nothing's touching and I don't get a hard short. So first thing I'm going to do is install my battery, which I've already done. And you really don't want to hold down the fire button too long on this stuff. You really want to just pulse it really fast and see how those coils are heating up. So that's what I'm going to do. So it looks like I have a hot side. No, it's evening out. Okay. So we're looking pretty good already. Just going to minorly pinch the coils together, just ever so gently. So, to tell you the truth, this is the fastest I've actually gotten a build to evenly fire. A lot of times, especially with 3-post strippers, you're going to run into the issue of one coil heats up really fast, the other coil doesn't heat up at all. So it does take a little bit of time and patience with this stuff, but after you get the coils firing evenly, it delivers some really great flavor. So I'm just going to double check my screws because, as always, after I touch up the coils a little bit, the screws tend to loosen up a little bit. So I am going to just double check, make sure everything is good and tight before I give it the final dry fire. Everything seems to be pretty good. Yep. So yeah, everything looks pretty swell, pretty spiffy. So I'm just going to go ahead and wick it. And you might be able to see the wire is turning a little bit green. Let's see if I can get a little bit closer here. I'll dry fire it a couple more times. Now we got a hot spot. See? This is what I was talking about. Sometimes it gives you a little bit of trouble. Just keep messing with it, and eventually it'll even out. So you really can't see it quite yet, but they are starting to turn a little bit green, and that's because it's made from nickel chromium, which has an interesting property with the wire. The chemical composition of it just makes it turn green after it's seen some heat, and you'll see it especially when we get it all wicked up and we put some liquid on there. So that's what I'm going to do next. I'm going to just grab my wick and reset the camera, and I'll be right back. Alright, so I have my Anarchist cotton sheet here, and we're just going to rip it right in half. This is one full sheet that we're going to be using for this one, and just kind of find where the middle is. Hopefully it works. Okay, that's good enough. And as with any wicking, it's kind of just guess and test. So first I just try to do half a sheet and see how that works. And if I need to make it any smaller, that's what I do. So I'm going to go over my wicking technique once again, because people seem to be interested in it. So I just basically take the tip and just roll it ever so slightly. I can already tell this is going to be a little bit too much, so I'm just going to go ahead and rip a little bit off. And it just takes practice to really be able to know how much wicking you need. And I like my stuff nice and fluffy, so that's why I use Kogendo. It stays really fluffy for me. So I'm just going to make one end into a really tiny little pinched piece here and put it through. You want it pretty decently tight with this stuff, especially with the 22 gauge, you know, kind of a cloud chasing build. You want a decent tightness to it. And then I back it off just a little bit, just so both of those ends just kind of spread out nice and evenly, and hopefully you'll be able to see that on the video. And I always rip off any hard edges whenever I wick. I don't like a compressed fiber going through the coil, so I just take off all the hard edges. And as I'm doing my second one, just rolling it, rip off that piece and start to thread it through. And this is definitely a little bit more difficult without having the ohm reader, because that at least provides a decent stand for it, but hopefully one day they'll make one with really good threads on it. And if you guys know of any, please feel free to leave a comment. Alright, so there's our nice fluffy wicks. Now I'm just going to grab my scissors and we're going to cut it to size. Now again, I get a lot of criticism off of this as well. I cut it right to the edge of the deck. I don't like clogging my whole RDA full of you know, excess cotton, especially seeing as how none of that will ever, you know, make its way all the way to the coils. If you use a cotton cloud, 9 times out of 10 it's never going to make its way all the way from the cloud underneath all the way up to the coils. And another thing I do is fluff this stuff up really well before I tuck it in. And sometimes if it gets, you know, a little bit too crazy, I'll do a little haircut on it as well. I think we might be good though with this stuff here. Just like to make sure there's a lot of surface area before I tuck it in. Plus this gets rid of any loose fibers I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but there's a lot of little fibers flying off. And that just comes with the territory whenever you're using organic cotton. And I'm just going to pull that one a little slightly. There we go. Okay. So let me give you a quick close-up on this. So that's what my wicks look like before any juice and before I tuck it in. And I'm going to be using some Fusion Vapor Prime Line e-liquid today. Ooh, focus, focus. So this one's called Unicorn Blood. I got this at an VCC Tampa from the man himself, Shane. Shane, you rock. Thank you so much, dude, for all your support over the years. Pretty much Shane is like the reason I kept vaping. He was the first one to ever give me samples, so you know, he's the reason I'm doing this today. So thank you very much, Shane from Fusion Vapor. If you get a second, make sure you check them out. They're really good. Alright, so I just have to unpackage this now. Still haven't touched it yet. Okay. So I'd like to do a little bit right across the top of the coil and just kind of paint the tips just a little bit like that. And like that. And I do this to make the top part of this wick heavier, which makes it easy for me to tuck everything in, which I'll show you in just a second. So juice is going away for now, and now what you want to do is just tuck all these little pieces of wick into the deck without crushing anything. You want to make sure it stays as fluffy as possible. And I don't put any cotton underneath my coils either. Alright. I like to call them little globes. And if anyone is watching that visits me over at Voltage Vape in Springfield, Mass, you guys know my patented wicking technique. Okay. Ooh, there the planes go. Don't know if you guys can hear that, but I live about 2 miles away from an Air Force base, and they're having an air show this weekend. Alright, so we're looking pretty good. Let's just get a quick vapor production shot, and we'll be good to go. So finish dripping. Just want to do one more little whoop across. And now you can probably see the green in there coming out a little bit more. Definitely not like regular Canthal. So let's just back off the camera and show a little vapor production. Oh yeah, looking good. Alright, so let's go back to the main screen, have a quick vape, and talk about this stuff. So as you can see, you get plenty of vapor out of this build and tons of flavor as well, and the flavor is absolutely on point. That's one thing I absolutely love about this wire is the flavor. I haven't worked with hot wires too much, but I have experienced a lot of builds with royal wires, and the flavor is about 10 times better than any build with royal wire that I've ever done. So that's a definite pro in my book for this stuff. As for the cotton that they gave me, it's pretty decent Japanese organic cotton. I really can't go wrong with this stuff. And it's, you know, very clean flavor as well on that. I get no cottony aftertaste, nothing like that. And it's very easy to work with, which is another huge pro in my book. Some cotton you find that it just doesn't rip quite easily enough, or it doesn't stay fluffy. This stuff is just like what I'm used to, which is Kogen dough. So points to that as well. So very, very, very good products here. I highly recommend them. Make sure you go check out local vape distribution if you want to get your hands on some of this stuff. I'm going to blow a few more clouds and then I'll do my sign out. So as for the build, this is your standard cloud chasing build. It's a 5-wrap, 22 gauge around a 1/8 inch bit, but with this wire here, you get a slightly lower resistance and amazing flavor. Really can't say how good the flavor is on this stuff. It almost rivals, you know, regular Canthal or even like some of my twisted wire builds that I do. So great flavor for a cloud chasing build. Heat is not too bad, definitely bearable with enough airflow. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure to like, favorite, and subscribe. Check out www.spinfuel.com for lots more of my videos, as well as Smoke and Joy and Spin Fuel videos. And as always, vape on.